Taeyang Park stood in the grand reception hall of the diplomatic vessel, trying not to show his nervousness. The walls gleamed with polished metal, and through the massive viewport behind him, Earth hung like a blue marble in the darkness. He had been a diplomat for 5 years now, but nothing had prepared him for this moment that the Valeburn delegation approached in silence. They moved like shadows given form, their pale skin almost luminescent under the ship's lights. Taeyang had read the reports about them. An ancient race, powerful, mysterious. They fed on some kind of energy rather than blood, despite what the rumors said. And they rarely interacted with other species. Until now. Ambassador Quan stood beside Taeyang, whispering final instructions. Remember, this is the most important diplomatic moment in human history. The Valeburn have never offered alliance to anyone. Whatever they ask, be respectful. The Valeburn leader stepped forward. She was tall, with silver hair that floated as if underwater. I am Matriarch Yura. We come bearing gifts to seal our bond with humanity. She gestured behind her, and 3 younger Valeborn women stepped into the light. These are my daughters, Yura continued. Hiren, Nare, and Bora. They will serve as cultural liaisons and protectors to your people. Specifically, to him. She pointed directly at Taeyang. Taeyang felt his stomach drop. I'm sorry, what? It is our way, Yura said calmly. A bonding of houses. My daughters will stay with you, learn from you, protect you. In return, you will learn our ways and represent our interests in the human sphere. Ambassador Quan grabbed Taeyang's arm, pulling him aside. This is incredible. Accept it, now. They're people, not gifts, Taeyang hissed back. This is wrong. This is politics. The council has already approved it. You don't have a choice. Taeyang looked at the 3 princesses. Hiren, the eldest, watched him with calm intelligence. Nare stood with the posture of a warrior, her eyes scanning everything. Bora, the youngest, smiled gently at him. They didn't look like prisoners or unwilling participants. But that didn't make this feel any less strange. I accept, Taeyang said finally, owing to Matriarch Yura. It's an honor. The ceremony that followed was brief. Words were spoken in the Valeborn language, which sounded like wind through crystals. Then the matriarch and her escort departed, leaving Taeyang alone with 3 alien princesses who were now apparently his. Responsibility. An awkward silence filled the hall. So, Taeyang said, I should show you to your quarters? That would be acceptable, Hiren said. Her voice was soft, but carried an edge of authority. But first, we should talk. You are uncomfortable with this arrangement. Is it that obvious? I can sense emotional resonance. Your discomfort radiates like heat. She stepped closer. Understand this, Taeyang Park. We are not slaves or property. This bonding is sacred to us. We chose to come here. Why? Taeyang asked. Why would you choose this? Bora spoke up, her voice gentle. Because your species fascinates us. You are young, fierce, adaptable. And we need allies. Against what? Nare smiled, showing pointed teeth. Against those who would see us destroyed. But that conversation can wait. First, we need to establish trust. Over the next 3 days, Taeyang began learning about his new companions. They moved into quarters adjacent to his own. Hiren spent hours teaching him about Valeborn culture and politics. Their empire was old, spanning dozens of systems, but it was fracturing from within. Factions argued over whether to remain isolated or engage with the younger species of the galaxy. Nare trained in the ship's gym, and Taeyang often watched her. She moved faster than his eyes could follow, her strikes powerful enough to dent reinforced walls. Once she caught him staring and invited him to spar. He lasted exactly 4 seconds before she had him pinned to the floor. You need better reflexes, she said, helping him up. If you are bonded to us, you will have enemies. You must learn to survive. Bora was different. She spent time in the medical bay, learning about human biology. When Taiyang visited her, she would ask endless questions about emotions, relationships, and culture. Your species feels so deeply, she said once. It's beautiful and terrifying. What do you mean? Taiyang asked. We Veilburn live for centuries. We have learned to control our emotions, to keep them distant. But humans burn so bright, so intense. Every feeling is like watching a star go supernova. She placed her hand over his chest. Your heart beats so fast. Like you're always afraid of running out of time. Maybe we are, Taiyang admitted. The princesses never explained exactly what they fed on. But Taiyang noticed they spent time near him when they seemed weak. They said they absorbed life energy from their surroundings, and that emotions made it stronger. They never took anything he wasn't willing to give, and afterward, he felt tired but not harmed. On the fourth day, everything changed. Taiyang was reviewing reports when the lights in his quarters flickered. The ship's eye announced a power fluctuation in Section 7, and alarms began blaring. Emergency protocols activated across the vessel. Hiron appeared at his door instantly. Something is wrong. I sense others like us nearby. Other Veilburn? Taiyang asked, grabbing his datapad. But your mother left days ago. Not my mother's people. Hiron's expression was dark. Others. Commander Ji-Hoon Nam's voice came through the intercom. All diplomatic staff report to secure locations. We have an intruder alert. Taiyang, accompanied by all three princesses, hurried toward the command center. They found Ji-Hoon coordinating security teams on holographic displays. Bodies of unconscious crew members lay in the corridor outside. What happened? Taiyang demanded. Ji-Hoon turned, his face grim. Someone knocked out a patrol team and accessed restricted areas. They downloaded classified files about human military capabilities. The princesses, someone suggested. They're the only Veilborn on board. Narration moved toward the speaker, fury in her eyes. Taiyang stepped between them. They were with me when this started. It wasn't them. Then who? Ji-Hoon asked. Hiron closed her eyes, concentrating. The emotional signature I sense is not Veilborn. It's something else. Something trying to feel like us, but wrong. You mean a disguise? Taiyang asked. Or a copy. Someone who has studied us enough to mimic our presence. Hiron opened her eyes. We need to search the ship. Whoever this is, they are still here. The search took hours. Security teams swept every deck, while the princesses used their abilities to scan for unusual energy patterns. They found nothing. But when Taiyang returned to the command center, he noticed something strange. Ji-Hoon, these encrypted transmissions, he said, pointing at the display. When were they sent? Over the past 3 days. Small bursts, hidden in normal traffic. Taiyang felt cold realization wash over him. That's when the princesses arrived. Someone has been using their arrival as cover. For what? Ji-Hoon asked before anyone could answer. Bora gasped. I feel it. Another presence. Not Veilborn, but wearing our signature like a mask. It's close. Alarm screamed. The viewport suddenly showed movement outside the ship. 3 small craft, unmarked and heavily armed, approached at attack speed. Their weapons charged, energy building to lethal levels. Evasive maneuvers. Ji-Hoon ordered. The ship lurched. Explosions rocked the hull. Taiyang grabbed a console to steady himself as the princesses moved into defensive positions around him. Through the chaos, one thought burned in his mind. Someone had known they were coming. Someone had planned this. And whoever they were, They wanted the alliance between humans and Velburn destroyed. The real question was why, and whether they could survive long enough to find out. The attacking ships fired again, and the diplomatic vessel shuddered under the impact. Taiyang watched through the viewport as human fighters launched from the hangar bay, racing to intercept the intruders. The battle was brief and brutal. 2 of the attacking ships were destroyed, but the third escaped into a warp jump before the fighters could stop it. Commander Jiun's team secured the ship, but the damage was done. 3 crew members were injured, and worse, the classified data breach had been confirmed. Someone had stolen information about Earth's defense networks, fleet positions, and weapon systems. This was planned, Ji-hoon said during the emergency meeting. His eyes kept drifting toward the 3 princesses who stood beside Taiyang. The timing is too perfect. The princesses arrive, and suddenly were attacked by unknown ships using Veilborn energy signatures. We did not do this, Hyrin said firmly. If we wanted your data, we would not need such crude methods. Then explain how those ships knew exactly when our shields would cycle for maintenance, Ji-hoon countered. That information was classified. Only senior crew had access. Taiyang felt tension crackling through the room. Ji-hoon, you're suggesting one of our own people is the traitor? I'm suggesting we don't know who to trust. Ji-hoon brought up a holographic display. I've been analyzing access logs. Someone has been entering secure systems using stolen credentials. The breaches started exactly when the Veilborn delegation arrived. Narration stepped forward, her movements predatory. You accuse us again. Perhaps we should demonstrate what would happen if we actually wanted to harm you. Stand down, Taiyang ordered, placing himself between Narration and Ji-hoon. Both of you. We need to think clearly. Hyrin raised her hand, silencing everyone. I can prove our innocence. Commander, you said you tracked the emotional signature of the intruder? Your words, not mine, Ji-hoon said. Then let me show you. Hyrin closed her eyes, and the air around her seemed to shimmer. What I sense is not the resonance of my people. Veilborn emotions feel like deep water, cold and ancient. What I detected during the attack felt like. She paused, searching for words, like fire. Quick, hot, desperate, human. The room fell silent. That's impossible, someone whispered. Why would a human betray us to aliens? Not to aliens, Taiyang said slowly, pieces falling into place. To someone who wants this alliance to fail. Ji-hoon, were those ships using genuine Veilborn technology or just mimicking the energy signature? Ji-hoon checked his data. Our sensors couldn't tell the difference. The signature was perfect, which means someone with knowledge of Veilborn systems created them, Hyrin said. This was meant to look like our people attacking you. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared again. This time, it wasn't an external attack. The ship's AI announced an intruder in the medical bay. Taeyang, and the others raced through corridors. They arrived to find Dr. Minji Kang unconscious on the floor, and Bora standing over her protectively. The youngest princess had blood on her shoulder, and her face was twisted in pain. What happened? Taiyang demanded, kneeling beside Bora. She saved me, Dr. Minji said weakly, sitting up. Someone in a stealth suit tried to inject me with something. Bora pushed me aside and took the hit instead. Narration caught the scent and moved with frightening speed. She grabbed a spot of empty air, and suddenly a figure materialized. The stealth suit flickered and died, revealing a Veilborn warrior in black armor. But something was wrong with him. His eyes glowed red, and dark veins covered his pale skin. Crimson ascendancy. Hyrin breathed, horror in her voice. They found us. The warrior laughed, the sound harsh and cruel. Traitors. All of you. You shame our people by allying with these short-lived cattle. He looked at Taiyang with disgust. The ascendancy will cleanse the empire of those who have forgotten our true purpose. Which is what? Tai Yang asked, helping Bora to her feet. Staying isolated and afraid? Staying pure. We are predators, not pets. The warrior struggled against Nare's grip. The plague that kills our people is punishment for abandoning our ways. The matriarch sends you to beg these humans for help, but we know the truth. We deserve our fate. Bora gasped. The plague. You know about the plague? The warrior spat. Everyone knows. The matriarch tried to hide it, but our people are dying. Systems fall silent. Colonies go dark. And instead of accepting our divine punishment, she crawls to humans for salvation. Tai Yang felt like he'd been punched. What plague? Hiron, what is he talking about? Hiron wouldn't meet his eyes. I was going to tell you. We came here not just for alliance, but because we need help. My people are dying from a disease we cannot cure. We believe humans might have the genetic diversity to help us find a solution. So this was all a lie, Ji-hoon said coldly. You didn't come for friendship. You came because you're desperate. We came because we had no choice. Bora shouted, then winced from the pain in her shoulder. Would you not do the same for your people? We were honest about wanting alliance. We just didn't mention how badly we needed it. The Crimson Ascendancy warrior laughed again. They will never help you. And when you fail, when the plague takes the last of us, the Ascendancy will be proven right. We should have remained pure. Nare's grip tightened, and the warrior stopped laughing. You will tell us everything. How many of you are on this ship? Who is helping you? I work alone. My mission was to kill the traitor princesses and destroy evidence of the plague before humans could learn the truth. He smiled, showing bloody teeth. But I see I'm too late for that. The injection, Dr. Minji said suddenly. Let me analyze what he tried to give me. She worked quickly while security took the warrior away. Tai Yang sat with Bora as she healed herself, the wound on her shoulder closing slowly. Why did you take that hit? He asked quietly. Dr. Minji is important, Bora said simply. She's been helping me understand human immune systems. If anyone can help us with the plague, it's her. I could not let her die. You barely know her. I know enough. She is kind. She is brilliant. She deserves to live. Bora smiled weakly. Besides, you care about your crew. If I let her die, you would never forgive yourself. I could not do that to you. Tai Yang felt something shift in his chest. These weren't just alien princesses assigned to him by politics. They were people who cared, who sacrificed, who had their own fears and hopes. Dr. Minji called everyone over to her display. I've analyzed the injection. It's not a poison. It's a virus. Specifically, it's a modified version of the plague, killing the Veilborn. What? Hiron moved closer. That's impossible. The plague is natural. This isn't natural, Dr. Minji said, highlighting genetic markers. This is engineered. Someone created this disease deliberately. The genetic structure is too perfect, too targeted. It attacks specific Veilborn cellular functions while leaving everything else intact. The room went silent as the implications sank in. A bioweapon, Tai Yang said. Someone made a weapon specifically designed to kill Veilborn. But who? Nare demanded. What species would have this capability? That's the terrifying part, Dr. Minji said. These genetic markers don't match any known species in the database. Whoever created this plague is using technology more advanced than anything in the Galactic Coalition. Ji-hoon pulled up star charts. We need to inform Earth Command and the Veilborn matriarch immediately. If this is a weapon, then the attack on the Veilborn isn't over. It's just beginning. But as he sent the transmission, another message came through. It was text only, encrypted, sent from an unknown source. The princesses are not your only problem. Look closer to home. Taiyang felt cold dread settling over him. They had discovered the plague was a weapon, but they still didn't know who created it or why. And somewhere on this ship, someone was helping the enemy. The question was, could they find the traitor before more people died? He looked at the three princesses, seeing them clearly now. Not as diplomatic gifts or alien threats, but as victims of something far larger and more dangerous than any of them had imagined. The investigation consumed everyone. For 2 days, Commander Ji-hoon's security team checked every crew member, every access log, every message sent from the ship. Taiyang barely slept, spending his time between helping the investigation and learning more about the Veilborn plague from Dr. Minji. The princesses remained under subtle guard. Not arrested, but watched. Taiyang hated it, but he understood. Trust was fragile, and someone on this ship was a traitor. On the 3rd day, they found their answer in the worst possible way. Taiyang was in his quarters reviewing data when his door chimed. "Come in," he called, expecting Ji-hoon with another update. Instead, Lieutenant So-min Choi entered. She had been his aide since he joined the diplomatic corps, his friend, someone he trusted completely. She looked exhausted, her eyes red from crying. "So-min? What's wrong?" She pulled out a small device and placed it on his desk. "I need to confess something before they find out. I'm the traitor." Taiyang felt the world tilt. "What?" "I've been sending classified information to outside sources. I gave them our shield maintenance schedules. I helped coordinate the timing of the attack." Her voice broke. "I betrayed you. I betrayed everyone. Why?" Taiyang stood, backing away from her. "How could you?" "They have my family." So-min shouted, tears streaming down her face. "The Syndicate. They grabbed my parents and my little brother from our colony on Mars. They said if I didn't cooperate, they'd kill them. I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. Not when it's your family. Not when you hear your mother screaming on a transmission, begging you to do what they say." So-min collapsed into a chair. "I tried to minimize the damage. I gave them just enough to keep them satisfied. But they kept demanding more." "The Syndicate," Taiyang said, his mind racing. "The criminal organization? Why would they care about the Veilborn Alliance?" "Because it threatens their business. The Syndicate makes billions selling illegal biotech throughout the galaxy. If humans in Veilborn share medical technology freely, their monopoly ends. They want the Alliance destroyed." Before Taiyang could respond, his door burst open. Ji-hoon entered with security, weapons drawn. "Step away from her, Taiyang. You knew?" Taiyang asked. "We traced the transmissions 10 minutes ago. Her encryption was good, but not perfect." Ji-hoon gestured for his team to secure So-min. "Lieutenant Choi, you're under arrest for treason." So-min didn't resist as they bound her hands. She looked at Taiyang with desperate eyes. "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I'm so sorry." The princesses arrived as security was leading So-min away. Hiron studied the situation with her calm, analytical gaze. "Wait. Before you take her, let us speak." "She's a traitor," Ji-hoon said flatly. "There's nothing to discuss. In your justice system, perhaps. But let me ask you something, Commander. If someone held the people you love hostage and threatened to kill them unless you betrayed your duty, what would you choose?" Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. He didn't answer. Bora approached So-min gently. "You are in pain. I can feel it radiating from you like heat from a fire. You hate what you've done." "Of course I hate it," So-min whispered. "I hate myself. But I couldn't let them die." "Then help us save them," Narration said. "Tell us where the Syndicate is holding your family. We will get them back." It's not that simple, Soman said. They're on a station in neutral space, heavily guarded. Even if you tried, they'd kill the hostages the moment they detected an attack. Then we don't attack, Taiyang said, an idea forming. We negotiate. Ji-hoon shook his head. The syndicate doesn't negotiate. They'll just kill everyone and disappear. They'll negotiate if we have something they want more than this alliance failing. Taiyang looked at Hiren. The cure for the plague. If we can develop it, that's worth more to the syndicate than any sabotage operation. Dr. Minji had been silent until now, but she stepped forward. I've been working on the plague genetics. Taiyang, it's not just targeting Veilborn. The base structure could be modified to attack almost any species. Whoever created this has a weapon that could threaten the entire galaxy. The weight of that statement settled over everyone. So we're not just dealing with the syndicate, Taiyang said slowly. Someone gave them this weapon to use as leverage. Someone with access to technology that shouldn't exist. Hiren closed her eyes, concentrating. When she opened them, they glowed faintly with inner light. I have been connecting with my people across the distance. Other colonies have reported strange occurrences. Ancient sites have been discovered. Sites that should not exist. The matriarch calls them architect ruins. The architects? Ji-hoon pulled up historical files. The precursor race? They've been extinct for millions of years. Perhaps not as extinct as we believed, Hiren said. The matriarch's researchers found bioweapons in these ruins. Weapons designed to target specific species. Someone has been excavating these sites and taking the technology. And selling it, Taiyang concluded. The syndicate is just the middleman. Someone else is behind this. Someone who wants to control the galaxy by threatening every species with extinction-level plagues. Soman looked up at them. The syndicate mentioned their client once. Just a code name. They called them the Chancellor. That's not much to go on, Ji-hoon said. It's more than we had. Taiyang made a decision. Ji-hoon, I want you to prepare a small team. We're going after Sumon's family. We'll trade information about the architect sites for their release. That's insane. We'd be giving criminals access to ancient weapons. No, we'll be feeding them false information while tracking their movements back to this Chancellor. Taiyang looked at each person in the room. We end this here. We find out who's really behind the plague, and we stop them. The operation took careful planning. Taiyang Nare and a small security team would infiltrate the syndicate station, posing as black market dealers. They'd offer coordinates to architect sites in exchange for Sumon's family. Meanwhile, Dr. Minji and Bora would continue working on a cure, and Hiren would coordinate with Veilborn intelligence to trace the syndicate's connections. The night before the mission, Taiyang couldn't sleep. He found Nare in the training room, moving through combat forms with deadly grace. You should rest, she said without stopping. I could say the same to you. I do not need rest like humans do. My people can go days without sleep when necessary. She finished her form and turned to him. You are afraid. Of course I'm afraid. If this goes wrong, people die. People are already dying. The plague spreads through my empire every day. Children, elders, warriors, all falling to this weapon. Nare's expression was fierce. You are doing what must be done. That takes courage, or stupidity. Sometimes they are the same thing. She smiled, a rare expression for her. You have surprised me, Taiyang Park. When we first arrived, I thought you weak, uncomfortable with duty. But I was wrong. You are like steel, flexible until the moment you need to be hard. Is that a compliment? From me? Yes. The mission launched at dawn. They took a small shuttle, unmarked and equipped with falsified identification. The journey to the syndicate station took 6 hours. Taiyang used the time to memorize the false information they'd prepared about architect sites. The station was a sprawling structure built into an asteroid. Ships of every type docked there, from legitimate traders to obvious pirates. Security was tight, but chaotic. Perfect for people who didn't want attention. They met the syndicate, representative in a dim bar that smelled of chemicals and desperation. He was a Draxian, a species known for their mercantile skills and flexible morals. "You're the ones interested in trading information?" he asked, his translator rendering his speech into flat, emotionless words. "We have coordinates to 3 architect sites," Taiyang said, keeping his voice steady. "Untouched. Verified to contain weapons-grade technology. In exchange for? The Choi family. Release them unharmed, and the data is yours." The Draxian's eyes narrowed. "You're with the diplomatic vessel. The one with the veil-born parasites." Nare's hand moved toward her weapon, but Taiyang stopped her with a gesture. "We're here for business, not politics. Do we have a deal? Let me consult with my superiors." The wait was agonizing. Taiyang watched the other patrons, wondering if any were threats. Nare remained coiled, ready to strike at the slightest provocation. Finally, the Draxian returned. "My employer wants to meet you personally. He's very interested in your offer. That wasn't part of the deal. It is now. Follow me, or the family dies." They had no choice. The Draxian led them deeper into the station, through corridors that grew progressively more secure. Finally, they reached a private chamber where a human waited. Taiyang recognized him instantly from the diplomatic files. Chancellor Wan Shik Han, one of the most powerful members of the Galactic Coalition Security Council. "Hello, Taiyang," Wan Shik said, smiling. "I've been very interested in your work with our Veilburn friends. Please, sit. We have much to discuss about the future of the galaxy and why some species simply don't deserve to survive." Taiyang forced himself to remain calm, even though his heart was racing. Chancellor Wan Shik Han sat across from him like they were old friends having tea, not a high-ranking official revealed as a criminal mastermind. Nare stood behind Taiyang, her body tense and ready for violence. "You seem surprised," Wan Shik said, pouring drinks from an expensive bottle. "Did you really think the syndicate operated alone? They're merchants. They need suppliers." "You're on the Coalition Security Council," Taiyang said. "You swore to protect all species in the galaxy, and I am protecting them from threats they're too blind to see." Wan Shik leaned forward. "Tell me, Taiyang, what do you know about the architects?" "That they were an ancient race, powerful. They disappeared millions of years ago." Disappeared. What a convenient word. Wan Shik activated a holographic display. Images of massive structures appeared, half buried on distant worlds. "They didn't disappear. They went to sleep, and I found them." The display showed the interior of an architect facility. Massive chambers filled with crystalline technology. And in the center, enormous pods containing figures that might have been alive or might have been statues. It was impossible to tell. 10 years ago, I led an expedition to an uncharted sector. We found an architect installation. My team spent years studying it, learning their language, accessing their systems. Wan Shik's eyes gleamed with fanatical intensity. "Do you know what we discovered? The architects didn't just leave behind weapons. They left behind their entire philosophy, their plan for the galaxy." "Which was?" Taiyang asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Order, control. They seeded life throughout the galaxy millions of years ago. Every major species, including humans and Veilborn, were genetically engineered by them. The Galactic Coalition itself exists because they designed it to exist. We're all part of their experiment." Nare spoke for the first time. "That's insane. Our people have histories going back thousands of years. Exactly as the architects intended. They gave you false memories, constructed histories. They made you believe you evolved naturally. But it was all designed. One chick stood, pacing, and they left behind failsafes. Weapons to eliminate any species that grew too powerful or too dangerous. The plague, Taiyang said, understanding dawning. You found their bioweapons and released them on the Veilborn. I activated them. There's a difference. The architects created these weapons for a reason. The Veilborn have psychic abilities that are growing stronger with each generation. Left unchecked, they could dominate the galaxy mentally. The architects knew this would happen. They built in a correction mechanism. You're committing genocide and calling it correction, Taiyang said, fury rising in his voice. I'm finishing what the architects started, ensuring the galaxy develops according to their design. Wanshik pulled out a datapad. And humanity has a role to play. The architects designed us to be adaptable, resilient, capable of surviving in any environment. We're meant to be the dominant species once the flawed ones are removed. I won't let you do this. Wanshik laughed. You can't stop me. I control access to architect technology that makes our current weapons look like children's toys. I have members of the Security Council under my influence. And I have installations across the galaxy ready to activate. The Veilborn are just the beginning. What do you mean? Narration demanded. Every species has a flaw. The architects identified them all. The Draxians breed too quickly and consume resources. The Krei are too warlike. The Tenari are too passive. Each has a custom bioweapon waiting in architect vaults. Wanshik smiled. I will activate them one by one, eliminating the imperfect species until only humanity and a few select others remain. Then we'll guide the galaxy to its true potential. Taiyang felt sick. You're insane. People aren't mistakes to be corrected. They're individuals with lives and rights and value. They're genetic experiments that went slightly wrong. I'm fixing them. Wanshik's expression hardened. Now, you came here to trade information. Give me the coordinates to the architect sites you found, and I'll release the hostages. Refuse, and they die. Simple. And if I give you the coordinates, you'll just use what you find there to kill more people. Probably. But at least Summon's family will live. That's worth something, isn't it? Taiyang looked at Narration. They'd prepared for this possibility. The coordinates they carried were false, designed to lead Wanshik's teams to empty sites, while the real architect locations were secured by coalition forces. But if Wanshik discovered the deception before they escaped, everyone would die. I need to think, Taiyang said. You have 5 minutes. My patience has limits. Wanshik left the room, leaving them under guard. The moment the door closed, Narration whispered, we need to send a warning. If he has installations ready to activate across the galaxy, the coalition needs to know. Hiren, Taiyang said quietly, hoping the Veilborn princess could somehow sense them across the distance. If you can hear me, we need help. Nothing happened for a long moment. Then Taiyang felt a strange warmth in his chest, a sensation like being wrapped in cold water. Hiren's voice echoed in his mind, faint but clear. I hear you. What happened? Taiyang focused on the information they'd learned, picturing it as clearly as possible. Wanshik's confession, the architect installations, the bioweapons targeting multiple species. He felt Hiren absorbing it all. I understand, her voice said. I will contact the matriarch and coalition forces. But Taiyang, you need to get to Architect Prime. It's their homeworld, the central control for all systems. If you can reach it and shut down the network, it will stop all the bioweapons. Where is it? In the forbidden sectors. No one has been there in recorded history. It's protected by automated defenses, and surrounded by the Devourer territories. The Devourers. Taiyang had heard stories. A hive mind species that consumed everything in their path. They'd been quarantined to specific sectors after nearly destroying several civilizations. That's impossible, Taiyang thought back. It's the only way. I'm gathering support. A matriarch is mobilizing our fleet. But you need to get to Wanshik's data and find the location of Architect Prime. We can't stop this without it. The connection faded, leaving Taiyang dizzy. Narray caught him as he swayed. What happened? We have a plan. But it's going to be dangerous. When Wanshik returned, Taiyang was ready. I'll give you the coordinates. But I want to see the hostages released first. No, data first, then hostages. Then no deal. I'm not trusting you to keep your word. They stared at each other. Finally, Wanshik nodded. Fine. The family is being held in Section 12. My people will bring them here. When I verify the data is legitimate, they go free. The next 20 minutes were tense. Security brought in a woman, a man, and a teenage boy. They looked tired and scared, but unharmed. The woman's eyes widened when she saw Taiyang's diplomatic insignia. You came for us? Soman sent us, Taiyang said gently. You're going home. Wanshik examined the data pad Taiyang handed him. His smile widened as he checked the coordinates. 3 sites, all in remote sectors. Perfect. He gestured to his guards. Release them. But as the guards moved forward, alarms began blaring. Wanshik's expression changed to fury. What's happening? A guard checked his communication device. Sir, we have incoming ships. Veilburn fleet. They're demanding we surrender. Impossible. How did they find us? Taiyang smiled. Because I told them where we were. Did you really think we'd come here without backup? Wanshik's hand moved toward a weapon, but Narray was faster. She crossed the room in a blur, disarming him before he could react. The other guards found themselves facing her wrath as well. In seconds, they were all unconscious on the floor. We need his data, Taiyang said, grabbing Wanshik's personal device. Everything about the architect sites. They fought their way through the station with Summon's family. The Veilborn fleet had the Syndicate forces occupied, but it was still chaos. Explosions rocked the structure. People fled in every direction. They reached their shuttle just as a section of the station exploded behind them. The small craft launched into space, dodging debris and weapons fire. Through the viewport, Taiyang saw dozens of Veilburn warships surrounding the station, and in the distance, more ships were arriving. Human vessels, Draxian, Krell, Tanari, species from across the coalition, all converging on this location. Hiron's voice came through the communication system. Taiyang, did you get the data? Yes, but Wanshik said he has installations across the galaxy ready to activate. We need to stop them all. We're analyzing the information now. There was a pause. We found it. Architect Prime. The coordinates were hidden in encrypted files. It's exactly where we suspected, deep in Devourer territory. Then we need an army. You'll have one. The coalition is mobilizing. Every species he threatened is sending ships. Hiron's voice became intense. But you need to lead the ground team. The architect's systems will only respond to certain genetic markers. You carry human DNA, which the architects designed for adaptability. You might be able to interface with their controls, where others cannot. Taiyang looked at the Choi family huddled in the back of the shuttle. At Narray, who had risked everything to help them. At the vast fleet gathering in space around them. Tell everyone to meet us at the coordinates, he said. We're going to Architect Prime, and we're going to end this. The fleet that gathered at the edge of Devourer territory was the largest military force assembled in 1,000 years. Humans, Veilborn, Draxian, Krell, Tenari, and dozens of other species. Ships of every design filled the space around the rally point. A temporary station hastily constructed for planning. Taiyang stood in the command center with the three princesses and representatives from every major species. Admiral Minho Quan, commander of Earth's fleet, studied the holographic display showing their target. Architect Prime, Minho said grimly. Surrounded by automated defense systems and sitting right in the middle of Devourer feeding grounds. This is going to be bloody. We don't have a choice, Taiyang replied. One Shik escaped during the attack on the Syndicate station. He's already activated 2 more bioweapon sites. The Krell homeworld has reported illness spreading through their military. The Tenari colonies are under quarantine. If we don't shut down the central control, every species in the coalition will face extinction. Hiren brought up tactical data. The architect defenses operate on a rotation. Every 6 hours, there's a 3-minute window when their weapons cycle for maintenance. That's our opportunity. 3 minutes to get an assault team through, Mingho said. It's not enough time. It has to be. Nare pointed to the map. The control center is here, deep inside the planet. We need a small team to infiltrate while the main fleet distracts the defenses. Captain Dayan Lee, commander of Earth's Special Operations Forces, stepped forward. My team can do it. We've trained for hostile environment operations. You'll need us too, Aura said. The architect systems might respond to our psychic abilities, and I can heal injuries that would otherwise be fatal. Minho looked uncomfortable. This is humanity's fight. We can't ask you to risk your lives. You're not asking, Hiren said firmly. We're volunteering. Our people are dying too. This affects everyone. There's still the problem of the Devourers, someone pointed out. They've never allowed anyone to pass through their territory. How do we even talk to them? Taiyang had been thinking about this. We offer them something they want. The architect biotechnology. If we succeed in shutting down the central control, the Devourers can have access to the medical advancements. It could help them evolve beyond their current limitations. You want to negotiate with a hive mind that eats everything? Minho looked skeptical. I want to give them a reason not to eat us while we save the galaxy. The message was sent into Devourer space using every communication method known. For 2 days, there was no response. Then the sensors detected movement. A massive Devourer vessel, organic and pulsing with life, emerged from the darkness. The communication that came through wasn't words, but emotions, hunger, curiosity, intelligence. The Devourers were listening. Taiyang recorded a message, broadcasting his thoughts and feelings as clearly as possible. He showed them the plague, the dying species, the architect technology that could help everyone, including them. He offered cooperation instead of conflict. The response was slow but clear. Agreement, safe passage. But only if the humans succeeded. If they failed, the Devourers would consume everyone. Not exactly a warm welcome. Dayan muttered. It's better than being attacked on sight. Taiyang replied. The fleet moved into Devourer territory slowly, every ship on high alert. The journey took 4 days. They saw Devourer vessels watching them, but never attacking. It was eerie, like being studied by predators, deciding whether they were worth eating. Finally, Architect Prime appeared before them. It was beautiful and terrible. A planet-sized structure of crystal and metal, glowing with power. Ancient weapons platforms orbited it in perfect formation, and energy barriers shimmered across its surface. Those defenses could destroy our entire fleet, Minho said quietly. Then we make sure they don't get the chance. Taiyang turned to the assault team. Dayan's soldiers, all 12 of them. The 3 princesses. And himself. Everyone ready? They boarded the assault shuttle, a small craft designed for stealth. The plan was simple but dangerous. The fleet would engage the outer defenses, drawing fire. During the weapons cycle, the shuttle would slip through and land on the surface. Then the ground team would fight their way to the control center and shut everything down. Simple. Except for the 1,000 ways. It could go wrong. The battle began with devastating fury. The Architect defenses activated, unleashing weapons that tore through space itself. Ships died in flashes of light, entire crews vanishing in moments. But the Coalition fleet pressed forward, buying time with their lives. 3 minutes, the pilot called out. Starting our run. The shuttle dove toward the planet, weaving through debris and energy blasts. The 3-minute window opened, and they slipped through the barrier. The surface rushed up to meet them, and they landed hard in a valley of crystalline structures. Move! Dayan ordered. They ran across the alien landscape. The Architect structures towered above them, humming with ancient power. Automated defenses activated, and laser fire cut through the air. 2 soldiers fell in the first minute, their bodies disintegrating before anyone could help. Narration moved like lightning, destroying defense turrets with precise strikes. Bora stayed close to Taiyang, ready to heal any injury. Hiron led them toward the central structure, her mind somehow navigating the alien architecture. They fought through corridors that bent reality. Gravity shifted without warning. Time seemed to flow differently in some rooms. The Architect technology was beyond human understanding, responding to thoughts and emotions rather than physical controls. This way, Hiron called. Sensing the path forward, they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the complex. In the center stood a figure merged with crystalline machinery. Wanshik. He'd beaten them here and integrated himself with the Architect systems. You're too late, Wanshik said, his voice echoing with inhuman harmonics. I've become part of the network. I control everything now. The bioweapons, the defenses, all of it. You've become a monster, Taiyang said. I've become something greater than human. The Architects wanted a caretaker for their grand design. I've claimed that role. Wanshik's form shifted, the machinery extending from his body like wings. Now I'll complete their work. Humanity will survive. The others will be corrected. The Architects were wrong, Taiyang shouted. Life isn't an experiment to be controlled. Species aren't mistakes to be fixed. We have the right to exist as we are. The right? You speak of rights? Wanshik laughed. Your genetic constructs. Designed, built, programmed. You only think you have free will. Maybe we were designed, Taiyang admitted. But what we do with that design is our choice. And we choose to be better than what you've become. A battle that followed was beyond anything Taiyang had imagined. Wanshik controlled the entire facility, turning its defenses against them. Soldiers fell. Dayan took a blast meant for Bora, and even the youngest princess's healing abilities barely saved her life. Narration fought with supernatural speed, but Wanshik's attacks came from everywhere at once. You cannot win, he said. I am the system now. Hiron closed her eyes, reaching out with her abilities. Taiyang, I need you to trust me. Give me your mind. What? Your human adaptability. My psychic power. Together, we might interface with the Architect systems. But I need complete access to your thoughts. It was terrifying, letting someone into his mind completely. But Taiyang nodded. Do it. The connection hit like a tidal wave. Suddenly, he felt Hiron's thoughts mingling with his own. And through her, he felt Bora and Narration joining them. The 4 of them became something greater, their minds linking across the space between them. Through this connection, they reached into the Architect network. They saw its history, the truth that Wanshik had discovered but misunderstood, The architects had created life throughout the galaxy, yes, but not as experiments, as children. They'd seeded the stars with potential because they were lonely, because they wanted the galaxy to be full of diverse voices and perspectives. The weapons weren't corrections. They were desperate last measures, designed to prevent one species from destroying all the others. The architects had made mistakes. They'd tried to control too much, and in the end, it had driven them to sleep, waiting for their children to grow wise enough to make their own choices. The system recognizes us, Hiron whispered in Tai Yang's mind. Human and Veilborn, unity, cooperation, everything the architects hoped for. Together, they reached into the core programming. They found the controls for the bioweapons. And they found something else. The architects themselves, sleeping in stasis, waiting to wake when called. We could wake them, Aura said. They could stop Wanshik. No, Tai Yang decided. They had their chance to shape the galaxy. This is our turn. We stop this ourselves. They pushed Wanshik out of the system, severing his connection. He screamed as the machinery rejected him, tearing away from his body. The bioweapons across the galaxy shut down. The defenses fell silent, but the facility began to collapse. Emergency protocols activated, designed to prevent unauthorized access. They had minutes before the entire structure self-destructed. Run! Dayan ordered. They fled through crumbling corridors. Behind them, Wanshik's voice called out, weak and broken. You're making a mistake. Without guidance, they'll destroy themselves. Maybe, Tai Yang called back, but that's their choice to make. They reached the surface as explosions tore through the complex. The shuttle pilot brought them up just as the ground collapsed. Architect Prime was destroying itself, erasing the dangerous technology rather than letting it be misused. In the control center, Aura suddenly gasped. The explosion. It's going to spread to the surface. The radiation will reach the fleet. We're too far to evacuate in time, Minot said through the communication system. Aura looked at Tai Yang with sad eyes. I can stop it. I can absorb the energy. Contain it. But no, Tai Yang said immediately. There has to be another way. There isn't. And you know it. She smiled. This is what I choose. To save everyone. To prove that we're more than what we were designed to be. Before anyone could stop her, Bora opened the shuttle door and jumped. She fell toward the surface, her body glowing as she called on every bit of her power. She hit the ground as the explosion reached her, and then she became pure light. The blast wave that should have killed thousands was absorbed, contained, held in her grasp for precious seconds. Long enough for the fleet to activate their shields. Long enough for everyone to survive. When the light faded, Aura was gone. But Tai Yang felt something strange in his chest. A warmth, a presence. Her voice whispered in his mind. I'm still here. Part of me, the bond we formed. I'll always be with you. The battle was over. Architect Prime was destroyed. The bioweapons were neutralized. Species across the galaxy began to recover as the plague halted its spread. 6 months later, Tai Yang stood on New Veilborn, a colony world being rebuilt. The cure that Dr. Minji developed using combined human and Veilborn research had saved countless lives. The coalition was stronger now, united by the knowledge of what they'd overcome together. Hiron stood beside him, her hand in his, not as a gift or a political arrangement, but as a partner. Nare trained new soldiers in the distance, teaching both human and Veilborn warriors to work together. And sometimes, when Tai Yang was quiet, he felt Bora's presence. A gentle warmth, a reminder that love and sacrifice echoed across time and space. We found another architect installation, Hiron said, showing him a report. This one contains different experiments. species we've never encountered. What do we do? Tai Yang asked. We do what Bora would have wanted. We help them. We give them the same choice she gave us, to decide their own future. Tai Yang looked at the stars above, thinking about everything they'd learned. The architects had tried to control the galaxy through design and manipulation. But in the end, it was choice, sacrifice, and love that had saved everyone. Humanity had proven they belonged among the stars, not because they were designed to be there, but because they chose to be there. And that made all the difference.